Hi, this is Sapil Bhartia and welcome to TFR Let's Talk. And my next guest is once again Sirish Raghuram, co-founder and CEO of Platform9. Sirish, it's great to have you back on the show.
It's great to be back, Swapnil. Thank you for having me.
Today's discussion is a bit exciting because you have forged a strategic partnership or investment from Rackspace technology. I want to just understand the nature and scope of this investment. Then we'll talk about other details.
Yeah, look, I think it's an incredibly exciting moment for us. Rackspace, I think, is well known as having a large focus on multi-cloud and enabling customers with the cloud journey. They have obviously a lot of history in this space, going back from starting OpenStack 10 years ago to actually becoming a big AWS partner about 4 years ago. And today, I was actually shocked to realize as we started talking about the possibility of working together, I was shocked to realize how quickly their cloud business has grown. And we shared a common vision of serving customers in their adoption of cloud technologies and helping them use containers and cloud native technologies, Kubernetes, to manage their journey to the cloud across their internal private clouds and public and hybrid and multi-cloud environments. And so when we realized that, and we also realized that Rackspace has a lot of things that they can bring to the table and in that journey, and Platform9's technology is something that we can bring to the table, we started talking about how do we collaborate, right? How do we serve customers better together? So those conversations expanded, and Rackspace has now made a strategic investment in Platform9. Their CTO is on our board of directors as well. And it's a deep technology and go-to-market partnership. So it's a deep collaboration to build the right kind of products together and also to service customers together with joint go-to-market.
How deep this partnership, this investment is going into? Is it only go-to-market or there'll be some collaboration on technology open source as well?
There's absolutely going to be collaboration across technology and go-to-market. It's not just a go-to-market partnership. It's not a simple resell partnership, so to speak. One of the things that we really valued about Rackspace was the fact that they have some fantastic enterprise customers. Some of like the major Fortune 100 brands in the world, major consumer brands, like major retail brands, major airlines, major banks are Rackspace customers and are relying on Rackspace to help them adopt cloud technologies and container technologies. And so what we really appreciated about them is that they have that first-line experience of having supported these customers in their use of containers and cloud technologies. And that context, we're actually trying to bring that into Platform9 and say, what are the gaps, right? Like, where are the rough edges? Where is the pain in that journey to cloud and the journey to adopting Kubernetes as the cloud platform for multi-cloud environments? And we've identified a number of gaps, and their product leads and technology leads are working very closely with our product leads and technology leads. We have a joint roadmap that's being maintained. This launch is basically you can think of it as almost as the first milestone in that roadmap, and there's many more milestones. There's 3 more milestones planned for this year. So it's not just a resell partnership, and it's a win-win because we are getting a lot more market intelligence, a lot more customer opportunities. The Platform9 technology gets better because they're able to kind of bring that into Platform9. And we are able to build the right kind of product experience and technology that will serve these customers. So I would say that in the Kubernetes ecosystem, right, there's literally no independent Kubernetes company that has this kind of market reach. If you look at the independent Kubernetes providers, excluding the large public cloud providers and maybe the likes of VMware and Red Hat, we have now the largest reach into the Kubernetes market opportunity by virtue of the partnerships. Obviously, Rackspace is the most recent one. We have others as well, such as in the 5G space. We previously announced some very large reaching partnerships as well. So our goal and my vision at Platform9 has been to kind of democratize Kubernetes and make it easier for people to deliver value with Kubernetes. And these partnerships are helping us, do that more easily for customers.
Rackspace has had Kubernetes as a service for a very long time. I think they launched back in 2017 or 2018. Is this partnership, when we talk about Rackspace managed platform Kubernetes, is it evolution of CAS, or is it separate thing? Is it they're changing the base of that platform? Can you talk about that safely?
Yeah, you can think of this as the next generation of their first generation. You can think of what they launched in 2017 as their first generation product. And they've obviously learned a lot from being in the market for a couple of years. They've also seen the kind of technology platform capabilities that were needed. I think one of the challenges in Kubernetes, Swapnil, those of us in the community know, it's a large and complex undertaking, but it's also a large and complex undertaking for the vendors in the space. And so they were looking for, how do we best serve our customers with this technology? There's a lot of demand for it. And they decided that the next generation of that, having got to know Platform9 a little bit and our capabilities, our technology platform, our SaaS technology, they decided that the next generation, we could collaborate on it and do that together, as opposed to them doing it themselves the way they had previously.
Yes, when we do talk about cloud native complexities, sometimes we try to make things easier for users. But the thing is, the more you try to make things easier for users, the vendors who are working behind the scenes, they have to deal with a lot of complexity that we don't even think of. There are so many things. We are also seeing evolution of the roles of developers, whether you call it DevOps, then DevSecOps, then SREs, and then with GitOps and everything is becoming infrastructure as code. Things are changing so rapidly. But there are three core things that I look at. One is security is very important. Being able to move fast is also important. And simplicity is also important. So when we do look at this investment into Platform9, what are the focus areas that are going to be all of these? Or because Platform9, you have your own bandwidth or your spectrum that you offer. So when we look at the other aspects of when the consumer, when they look at making things easier, so how exactly are you going to help Rackspace in making things easier for customers while also letting them move as fast as they want?
Ease of use and simplicity of operations has always been like a focus, right? Like from the very beginning, when we announced our Kubernetes as a service offering a few years ago, our initial value proposition was always that the day two operations, operating and managing clusters and keeping them up to date and patched with the latest security updates and managing across a larger scale group of developers. I'll give you an example, right? One of our largest customers is actually running somewhere around 3,000 developers are using it every day, and across multiple continents and multiple time zones. And they've added 0 Kubernetes engineers to their team. So we've seen the ability to really help customers achieve a lot with our technology platform. What we then realized is that there's additional new areas of complexity. I think, Swapnil, you alluded to this, right? Like Kubernetes is growing, the surface area is growing, and now people are looking at how do we do everything from secure CI/CD. So it becomes like CI/CD, but also application security and using cloud native constructs. How do we do secure registries, and how do we do observability? How do we manage these applications and monitor their performance and health and well-being after the fact? And there's still a lot of complexity in those areas. And so those are all capabilities that are in our joint roadmap. You'll see announcements over the course of the year in terms of new updates to MPK, Managed Platform for Kubernetes from Rackspace, that we are working on together that'll address this. And I would say that the goal is to make the journey to cloud, the journey to multi-cloud using Kubernetes simple and easy for customers so that they can get there faster and they can transform their businesses more easily by working with Rackspace and Platform9.
If we do look at this investment, because Platform9 is kind of independent platform, what does it mean for the platform itself? Are you getting too tight to Rackspace, or users will also be able to use it independently? I just want to understand the long-term impact on Platform9 because of this investment.
It's a strategic investment. It's a true partnership. I would say it's a collaborative partnership. It's not one that I think obligates Platform9 to be too Rackspace specific. So for example, customers can choose to use us with Rackspace infrastructure or their multi-cloud services, or they can choose not to. Like if you, for example, there's many customers who have used Platform9 over the years, coming into Platform9 and using their choice of cloud environments or data center edge environments. And you can obviously continue to do that. I can truly state that, like, I've looked at what the Rackspace team has brought to the conversation and said they have brought in more intelligence and more insights, deeper insights from some really large-scale cloud transformation projects using Kubernetes. And we've been able to take those insights and make our product better. And we're sharing that technology and product with Rackspace as part of managed platform for Kubernetes. So they're certainly adding a lot to simplifying the customer journey. But in no way, I think, are we detracting from the standalone Platform9 value proposition. That's not at all the intent over here. It's not a control thing. I think it's more of a collaboration thing. And from our point of view, we're happy to give Rackspace a stake in our success and have them be incented to help our team and our business grow and partake in the success that comes from there, right? So it's truly, I think, set up as a win-win partnership. That's been something that their executives have talked about from the very beginning. It's not about control. It's all about how do we, help Rackspace win? How do we help Platform9 win? More importantly, how do we help customers win, right? How do we improve outcomes for customers together? That's been the at the center of the conversation.
Oh, thanks for being transparent, because sometimes customers do get worried whenever such deals are there. I also want to talk about a couple of things before we wrap this up. Number one is that today multi-cloud, hybrid cloud is the reality. We with edge, and when we talk about edge, we are not talking about IoT devices. We are talking about edge data centers. The data center in the cloud. All these changes, as you earlier alluded to, that like any other, company, Platform9 is also evolving. What do these changes mean, not only for Platform9, but also to service customers base, given this strategic investment by Rackspace?
I think what it means is that, like, Swapnil, a few years ago, we've talked about hybrid clouds as an industry for, I think, 10 years now, right? I would say for a long part of that, hybrid didn't really exist. What existed was you had your Amazon silo and you had your on-prem silo, which was VMware and running this is what Gartner used to call bimodal IT, right? I'm very excited that we're moving beyond that. Like, what I'm very excited about is some of our retail customers, for example, they are telling us, hey, we have developers who are already building applications to containers and Kubernetes, and they're very comfortable doing that in the cloud. Can you help us bring that into the edge so they can build these modern applications and run them at the edge in the storefront? And so to me, that is a sign that we're truly actually doing hybrid now. We're truly doing distributed clouds now. And the cloud is proliferating. So the cloud is no longer the central entity, but the cloud is starting to become more omnipresent. If you look at what's happening in retail, if you look at what's happening in 5G and telco, the cloud is proliferating, it's spreading, and it's becoming omnipresent. It's reaching your nearby, your neighborhood cafes and your neighborhood, grocery stores, and it's reaching your neighborhood cell phone towers and your metropolitan, central offices and your CDN live streaming environments. The cloud is spreading, and it's no longer a central entity. And that's very meaningful to me, because I think, if we look at the founding mission of Platform9, it was to enable freedom in cloud computing. The idea that you should get the dial tone for compute that you get from an Amazon Web Services or others, but you should be able to get that with your choice of infrastructure and run applications wherever you want to run and whatever type of infrastructure you want to run, whether that be cloud or data center or edge. And I think it's very exciting to see that proliferation happen. So I feel like we're finally really doing hybrid cloud now, and distributed clouds is finally happening across multi-cloud and edge environments.
What are the pain points that you still see? I'm not talking about pain points for users, but pain points for vendors that you're like, hey, these are still the problems we still have to solve. Yes, Kubernetes is mature, it's in production, but there are still a lot of problems that we still need to solve. From your perspective, what are the big ones that you are like, we have to tackle them now?
And when I think about that, Swapnil, I tend to always answer that in the context of the customer, because to me, it's all about the end user and how they're using the product. One thing that you see a lot of metrics from CNCF. You see the KubeCon surveys that come out around CNCF, right? I think there's some hard questions that the community needs to be asking. For example, we say that X million developers are exposed to Kubernetes, and there's all these vanity metrics that we have, which is all well and good, right? But if you were to ask the question, what percentage of applications that are running in containers are being orchestrated by Kubernetes? I think that the answer will be quite low. It's not the majority. For sure, it's not the majority. It's nowhere close to the majority, right? It's actually a question that I'm asking a lot of product leaders and founders and CEOs in the Kubernetes ecosystem. And the answers I'm getting sometimes is as low as 10%. In other words, 10% of applications that are running in containers are being orchestrated by Kubernetes. And I think we have to be intellectually honest and humble and say, what does that tell you? Obviously, Kubernetes is very powerful. There's a lot of value to the technology. But it tells me that what I infer from that, Swapnil, is that the barrier, the complexity barrier to Kubernetes is so high that, the Googles and the big tech firms in the West Coast, right? The elite tech firms can take advantage of it because they can, they're all decacons now, and they can go throw, $100 million at a team to go build a platform team. Like Atlassian can do that, and maybe Uber can do that, and a few companies can do that. But is that our ambition, that we only want to serve those companies? Or do we want to serve every company, right? There's 500,000 organizations or more in the world that want to use cloud technologies. Do we want to limit our thinking to, if it works for 200 big tech companies, that's good enough? Or do we want to make this easy for the hundreds of thousands of companies behind them that want this to be easier? And I think that we've been too happy to say, yeah, Kubernetes is fantastic because it works for Google and it works for, the big tech firms. That's not good enough, folks. That's just not good enough, right? So I spend a lot of my time, and I know Platform9, people in Platform9 and even Rackspace are spending a lot of their time thinking about how do we make this easier? So it's not limited to a few elite tech firms who can make Kubernetes work at scale, but how do we lower the barrier to entry and the barrier to value, where they can say, yeah, I can get up and running and I can do it pretty easily. And ultimately what that will mean, Swapnil, is the percentage of applications running in containers that are being orchestrated by Kubernetes should be the majority, right? It should not be 10%.
Yeah, and talking about why we'll be opening a Pandora's box, because there are so many factors that play there. Complexities there. There is a huge gap in supply and demand of talented people who do know about these technologies. Security is also where, there is a rise of ransomware for these kind of workloads. So there are so many factors. I would love to have you back on the show just to talk about why, only 10% you mentioned. Yeah.
Let's talk about why. And the interesting thing, Swapnil, there is we're one of the few companies. There's a lot of vendors in the Kubernetes ecosystem. We're one of the few vendors who actually runs our production service on Kubernetes. And I can tell you it has been very, very complex. If it's complex for a team like ours, who are full of Kubernetes talent, there's 100 people here that kind of live and breathe Kubernetes and have done so for years. I mean, this is not going to work for most other firms out there, right? We're probably in the elite 0.01% of talent teams out there when it comes to a technology like this. It's just too hard, and we got to make it easier. And I'd love to come back and talk a lot more about why in a follow-on show.
Sirish, thank you so much for taking time out and talk about not only about this strategic investment by Rackspace, but we actually went deeper into some of the serious challenges that the cloud-native ecosystem is facing. I would love to have you back on the show, as we mentioned, and thank you for your time today.
Thank you for having me. Very exciting moment for us, I think, and the Kubernetes community today. So thank you for having us.